So, I've got my original HVAC system right here. This is what it looks like when you take it out. This is currently upside down. Actually no, it's not. This is the right way around. That's the right way around. So that's how it would sit in the van, that way, with the bulkhead just here. I've tipped it on its front because, well, basically to show you that these things are... I've just damaged that, taking it out the bloody van, which is a shame. It was buried underneath everything, my heavy hands. Let's just have a quick look at this, what this looks like here. So, yeah, so the two backs look slightly different, which is a bit of a pain. I was hoping they'd be the same, but wait, what's this? Oh, are those clips right there, I see? They look like clips, don't they? This whole unit will lift out this whole back piece like that. Would you look at that? And you're greeted with that right there. Look at all the dust and crap that's in here because this thing doesn't have a pollen filter. Beautiful. Right. Well, and if you look at the two, if I actuate the vents, that one there and that there are identical. Cool. Although I will admit this is a bit more dirty, even though this is the newer one. Makes me think that it had a pollen filter in it. I just don't know where the hell they fit on these vans. But you can see the weak point is this leak in here, which is only 2 O-ring seals. To replace those O-ring seals and it won't leak anymore, but crikey, my hay fever. Yeah. Cool thing is, no electrics on this. So what my plan is to hose all this down with the hose pipe, clean it all up, and swap all the electronics from this onto this one, because all the mounting points are all there ready. It's like they just took one, that mounting point there. Well, there's 2 mounting points there, 2 mounting points here. It's like they just took one unit and designed it to work with all of them. Cool beans. Minus all the cuts I've got on my finger. Cool stuff. Alright. And because these heater matrix or heater cores, whatever you want to call them, cost so little, you may as well just replace it for what it takes. So it's also nice to take these out because look at all that crap that's in there, eh? Beautiful. Needless to say, I'm going to go and hose this out again, I think. Beautiful. There you go. Easy as that. Don't forget, you'll see on that there's a little band that goes all the way around it. Try and get some of that if your heated core doesn't come with that stuff. You won't believe what difference it makes. Alright, here's one very, very important tip to tell you guys. When you take this actuator off here, which is for your heater flap, the one that covers your heater matrix up, make sure you remember which position your heater flap's in, because this has got a little sensor inside it which knows when the gear has gone all the way to one end or all the way to the other, so it's going to know. What you want to make sure is that the thing doesn't fight itself, because it will do that. If the flap goes all the way and closes, but that still thinks there's more travel, that motor will be sat there trying to push the flap closed when it's already closed. So if you can, before you take this unit out of the vehicle, put it in either the open or the closed position. I recommend the closed position, of course. And then take it out the car and pull your motor off. You know, 3 screws hold that in. Torx bits. Them things there. I'm just using a little Torx Allen key thing. Simple, easy stuff. That appears to be the only control that's on this thing. The other one is done manually, which is your positioning, right? It puts your, you know, your feet for your heat for your feet. There you go, got my words right, and whatnot. Right. Alright, little thing to note just here. This sits in here and connects to this, which is your flap. Obviously you don't need any of that, so take all that off. One thing to remember, this is open. This is actually open straight to the vent inside. Now on this one, look, it's got a cap on it, so you need to get that screw out just there, get that cap off and attach it to this one just here. Let's do it. And there we go. Note that I didn't put the screw in line with the other one as it was on the other one. I was a bit lazy and just put it that way. Why not? Like it matters. Alright, after that, nice and simple. Take your old heater thingy off, your controls off, dead easy to do. Stick a screwdriver on this thing here, push it through, and then with a flat blade screwdriver just gently lift that off. As you wiggle it side to side and it will just slide off. Easy. You'll be left with that thing. That's nice. That will still control your vents and flaps, which is what you want it to do. Sweet. Another thing as well, if you end up losing these foam bits on here, don't worry about it too much. You just replace it with some of that strip that's on there. Or if you want to be really lazy and you're converting your van to a camper or something, just use some of that a closed cell foam cut to size. It's nice because it's self-adhesive, and if you've still got the foams and they've come off and they're still in good condition, just use some either double-sided sticky tape or some of that, what do they call it? Trim fix adhesive. Works perfect. Now on to this thing. I have taken this all apart previous to this video. Previous to this video I have taken all this apart. And again, I highly recommend you do this because this thing is going to be a bit filthy. Because while the air's on cold, it's blowing through this. Even if the AC is not on, it still blows through this radiator. So if you just got normal blowers on, just set to, you know, normal ambient air temperature cold, your cold air is still sucked through this rad. And the downside to that is just like that heater matrix over there. It uses it as a filter, so all sticks and stuff get stuck in it. Naff. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how you take this apart. You'll see that there's quite a few screws in the top of it. Take all those torque screws out. Then what you do, see this temperature sensor right here? You got to pull that out. That will pull out. It's a big long rod. Comes out about this far before you take it out. That's great. Leave the little relay thing in. I'm not sure what that does. I think it's something to do with the fan speed. It might even be to do with the front radiator fan. I'm not sure yet. I haven't figured out what that does. But I know it does something. Alright. Yeah, when you've done that, and you've taken those screws out and taken that temperature sensor out, this radiator will come out frontwards and slide out. So as it sits like this, it will slide up out of it. Now, this radiator has done many miles. 400,000 miles or so, because it was in a taxi. So it was quite badly, I don't know, rotten inside. You say not rotten, but yeah, it was just all manky inside. I mean, the dirt and grit was up to this level. It was horrific. This was all covered in feathers. I should have got a photo of it, and I didn't, sadly. It was nasty, nasty. So yeah, you can see why you can get that. What's that disease you can get for having a dirty AC system? There is a certain disease that you can get. I can't remember what it is now, but there was a post about it on funny enough, the Citroen Dispatch forums. I think it was on French car forums, and it was down to having this thing filthy. So yeah, here's what I said about that closed cell foam look, because I did destroy the foams on this. I just banged it full of this stuff. Does the same job. Perfect. Right, now to attach this to this, which this one should never technically have that on it because of what it is, but because they're lazy and they only make one part, well, they leave the holes there for it. So when putting this onto here, obviously make sure it's all nice and clean, no bits in it. Don't want bits in there. Oh, he'll be doing that. He'll be doing it for ages. Look. Or is that just grease? I think that's just grease. Yeah, that's just grease. So don't mind about that. Yep, pretty clean in there. Bit dusty, I guess. But screw it. And then when you get this thing, all you do with this, you will figure out which way's up. That's the way. Doing this all with one hand, of course, it's never helpful. And you'll see that down here, look, underneath there's like little lugs. Get that thing to sit in them lugs. You can see where it's supposed to sit, look. Upwards. Let me just put this camera down for a second. So there's a lip around it, and you've got to make sure the lip slots in the gap, otherwise it won't go in. Right, so down there is that clip, and if I zoom in on that clip, you can see that it is clipped onto it if the autofocus would do as it's told. Whatever, you've got a decent view of it there, that'll do. I recommend you don't put this cover on just yet. Do that while it's in situ in the vehicle. You get all access to this side, it's no problem. Because you have got to get access to the plug here. When you've got the cover on, you can't get to the plug. Simple stuff, simple easy stuff. Next thing to do, get your favourite little spring clips. Show them the where they're supposed to go, and if you're lucky, they will just spring on into place. But they may require a bit of force. There are spring clips at the end of the day. And sometimes they don't like to go on. There you go, that's one on. There we go, it's on there. And then wherever the other ones disappeared to, I'll do it for the other side, and then we'll start putting it into the van. Alright, now here's something that I recommend, it's good practice to do. With AC equipment or anything refrigeration, always replace seals when you disturb them. Don't ever bother reusing them, they're that cheap. On this thing it just uses normal O-ring seals. Well, O-ring, I say normal. They are refrigerant grade O-ring seals, so make sure if you do get replacement ones that you do get replacement O-ring seals. One thing I also recommend is, it's a pretty high mileage vehicle that this came out of. Get an airline and blow it through this wider pipe, because that's the pipe returning back to the compressor, so to speak. It comes in this pipe and then comes out this pipe. The reason why I say that is because if ever something happens, i.e. if when you come to take this apart there's no refrigerant in this and it's been like it for a damn long time, which I do believe this has been like that, the oil that's inside it could have coagulated or emulsified due to air getting into it and water vapour, whatever. Especially if the radiator on the front's been damaged, which is very common. Water can spray into it, it can get all the way up into these pipes, and you can find that it blocks them up. So one thing I recommend you do is blow through here. You're going to get a lot of oil come out of it. I'm pretty sure that in these systems the oil is a funny goldeny colour. And from experience, I'm not going to tell you how I know this, but it doesn't taste very nice. And yeah, so the seals we're talking about are these little guys just here. Not much to look at, but it's amazing how much refrigerant can leak past those if they're old. And this thing here, this is called a TXV valve. What this does is this basically works as your aperture or your capillary tube, but because of the way it's designed it can automatically vary itself, which is pleasant. They are adjustable, but don't adjust it if you don't know what you're doing. This thing just happily sits on its merry self just in here, in that configuration, just like that. Easy peasy. Replacement seals. I think that smaller one's a little bit bigger, but it'll be fine. Do the job. Alright, I thought I'd best mention these things, these little pins here. There's a little washer on them, make sure you don't lose that. And you'll notice that they've got a special, almost like a reverse Torx bit on them. Now, if you've been doing this for a while, like I have, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is the first one I've done, but I've always played around with these things. You can cheat undoing these. You think you got to try and find a bit for this, but if you got yourself a little 4mm socket, well, a 4mm socket just so happens to fit on there, lovely. Perfect. Nice. Now I will say one thing. When I come to undo these were very loose. Now, that's not good for two reasons. One, obviously, if it breaks the seal, you'll lose all your refrigerant gas, your R134A, or R12 if it's a really old, where is it? Yeah, it's R12 if it's a really old car. Another thing is, well, if it comes undone that much, you might lose them. You don't want that to happen. But it's not likely because you've got another block that sandwiches to this with the other two pipes on it. And that I've got to go and find because that's in the back of the van, which, it's not pleasant in the back of there. But I might leave that for another day because it is going dark. Yeah, nice shot of the moon just up there. Oh dear. Oh, there we go. Let's see how close we can get into that, shall we? Oh, it's got to be done, people. It's got to be done. Wow. You know what to say about that, don't you? I can see my house from here. Right. I think what I'm going to do now is get that in situ, just slotted up in there somewhere. Oh, what I'm going to do first is, down here on the floor, you got this thing just here. You want to take that out, Torx bolt just there, undo that and swap it out with the other one, because you're going to need that bit too, because that's where your drain goes through. And again, I've got to try and find that. It's in the back of the van somewhere. Fun. But yeah, do that while you got this out, because I mean, you can do it while it's in, there's enough space, but it's just a pain in the arse. May as well do it now. Squeezy peasy. Looks like I'll continue this tomorrow. See you tomorrow.